I've been living with my girlfriend, 26F, for almost a month, dating for 1.5 years. She's revealing an increasing interest in vampire role-playing, which was fun at first, but now I'm 24 meters, worrying it's going too far. Okay, so basically we have been seeing each other for a while and have talked a lot about moving in together. We spent a lot of time at each other's places anyway, and so once this covered thing was getting more serious, we figured now was a good time to just bite the bullet and do it. I was nervous, obviously, due to the fact we'd be spending most of the day together every day since we don't leave except to go for food shopping, but I think it's a good test to see if we are okay with this. Then getting married is definitely a realistic option. Obviously, spending a lot of time at home, there is only so much Netflix I can watch. Although the massive amount of weed we bought has helped a lot. I haven't smoked much since uni, but figured with this downtime, and we've been having a lot of sex. We used to be pretty active before this, and have role-played in the past, and have done a vampire one before. However, now since moving in, it's been popping back up very frequently, and while it was a bit of a laugh the first few times, she is now focusing a lot more on authenticity. I did not realize there was so much knowledge available about vampires, and not to go into too much detail, but while she is in character, she is apparently a sanguine, which is not Elvish or Welsh apparently. I'm almost always a powerless regular human, which I'm cool with. I don't really want to do homework to prep for roleplay accuracy. At the start it was just some light bondage and biting, which was cool, but now more recently it's turning into heavier duty restraints and there is more biting, which I was okay with, but after the third time of her drawing blood I've asked her to reduce the bites. Nowhere dangerous, it was mainly around the upper shoulder. She was annoyed and called me boring. I now see her practicing these fancy ass knots all day, and while I can't see what she's doing on her computer, my gut is that she's researching more vampire stuff. And I should add that she has started doing more vampire stuff in her everyday life, which I thought was her doing a bit at first, but now I'm less sure. I'm non-religious, but her family is Christian. I think she was never really actively practicing, but she did have a few Jesus-y things about, like a cross necklace she wore, which I found all bundled together in a bag, stuffed in the back of the wardrobe. She's still fine with garlic. I have spoken to her several times about all this before I decided to post, but it always involves a lot of deflection and her telling me not to worry and that I'm overthinking and to just have another joint or drink. I'm just worrying that this is an escalating situation to maybe cope with the quarantine or moving in. Is there anything I should be worried about? Has anyone had a similar situation with their partner? TL. Dr. GF is escalating her involvement as a vampire during roleplay and shuts down discussion about it when I try and approach the point that it might be too serious. Update: I've been living with my girlfriend, 26F, for almost a month, dating for 1.5 years. She's revealing an increasing interest in vampire role-playing, which was fun at first, but now I'm 24 meters, worrying it's going too far. So I'm aware this is kinda a delayed update, but in all honesty, after making the post I was fully prepared to leave it, move on and deal with it myself. As well as some personal issues, I just didn't really see this as a priority for me. I just want to say I read lots of the comments, even a few of the Twitter ones, and the first thing I want to get off my chest is that, holy fuck, it's sanguine not sanguine. I feel like such a fucking idiot. It made research so much easier. I even watched all of Lord of the Rings, but didn't learn anything about them. My friend is part Welsh, but he didn't know what I meant, and I had to drop it quickly to avoid embarrassment. There were so many results on it online, and it seemed pretty daunting, so I didn't read much into it yet. I'm waiting for when I'm in a reading mood. I will just get straight to the point and say I don't know exactly what I would call the current status on my relationship with her, but it is definitely ending. I'm thankful people recognized my situation as potentially abusive. It sounds weird, but until it was pointed out, it hadn't really clicked with me. She has always been somewhat assertive before, as she works in a demanding field and knows what she wants, and I've been all too willing to go along with anything because she always knew better. For the first week after my post, I skirted around the idea of saying anything to her because she gets upset very easily and I didn't want to have a confrontation. Most arguments we had seemed one-sided, and I would always compromise in the end, even doing stuff I wasn't comfortable with. The vampire stuff isn't the first weird horror roleplay we've had. I was happy to go along with the vamp stuff because it required literally hours less preparation than some of the other stuff we did. The silver lining was that I never had to do much. She would do 95% of the prep. She spent hours one time doing makeup, and all I had to do was get a red balloon. I think that level of dedication is something I really admire about her. Things had calmed down for the first plus second week, probably because my GF's work had picked up, and she back into doing her long hours. She had mentioned some developments into memorizing me, I think, to draw. She is a really nifty artist, and truth be told, a nice distraction from the world events. I have even begun cooking recently as a hobby, and so lent more into that. Although I struggle with cooking with meat, it makes me feel sick. I've only really started eating it in the last few months, as it made making dishes for the both of us a lot easier. I also reduced my smoking quite a bit, as I feel like it was harming my judgment, and I only really have a couple beers a day at most now, and I feel a lot more healthy. After this, I was feeling myself in a much healthier mindset, and so a couple weeks ago at dinner I brought up the vampire stuff, although she took that to mean I wanted to progress it further. I wish I could say I was able to summarize my feelings succinctly, but for some reason, as soon as I started saying I wasn't comfortable with the direction this was all taking, I started hyperventilating and had what I think was a panic attack. My GF started crying. She thought I was having a heart attack or something, and her inhaler did fuck all as well. After I had calmed down, I was able to get across to her what I was trying to say, but it turned heated quite quickly. She said I was trying to shame her, but all I was trying to say was that I didn't want to bleed. It's not normal to go through these many plasters. I had aimed that as a joke, which is the go-to method to defuse a situation, but she did not consider it funny at all, which is stupid, because I'm the one who is being bled. We didn't really talk for a couple of days and tensions were high, but we had a rational discussion a few days ago where we came to the conclusion the relationship wasn't working. Obviously, we can't just up and leave right now, so we are still together for the time being, but once we can freely move about, we can split up and move away from each other. I think this is quite a healthy resolution. I'm sorry if some of you expected something more horrifying in this update, and I won't lie, some of the comments I read had me seriously worried for my life, but I know her better than you would, based on a single internet post, and she is a good person. TLDR, we had a talk and we will split up once everything is pretty much open again. Last night my 26F boyfriend, 27 meters, hit me for the first time in the 4 years we've been together. It came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it at all, and it caught me completely off guard. We were arguing. I got close to his face. He lost his temper and struck me across my left cheek. It was a very hard hit. His hand was closed. As soon as it happened, his face went white, and he became completely silent. It seemed like he was just as shocked as I was. I started tearing up, and I ran out of the room to lock myself in the toilet. A few minutes later he knocked on the door, practically groveling for my forgiveness, apologizing over and over. I didn't say anything back. I stayed in there for about an hour, and then I went to find him, and we sat down together to have a long discussion. He was apologizing all the way through, saying that he takes full responsibility and that it will never happen again. I told him that I feel afraid of him now, and I don't know how to get over it. I know that he can't say for sure he'll be able to control himself the next time he loses his temper like that, no matter how many promises he makes. I'm afraid that the next time it will be more than one hit. He doesn't know what to do. All he can say is that he will do whatever it takes to gain my trust back, and he understands if I need to take a break from our relationship. I don't know what I should do. What do you think? Does he really not know what he is doing to me when I sleep? I've been torn whether or not I should even write this, but after seeing a similar post, I'm honestly worried and need some advice. Sorry for errors. I'm on mobile and sorry if it's long. So as of lately my fiance and I aren't sexually active. I try, and he refuses me constantly. It's honestly taking a toll on my self-esteem, but that's not the problem. The problem is, I will wake up in the middle of the night to him trying to do sexual things to me. One incident that really worries me is I just couldn't wake up, but I knew he was doing something to me and kept moving me around and pushing my head down towards his privates. I knew this was happening, but I was having an extremely difficult time waking up and stopping it. Alarm bells were just ringing in my head, and I was finally able to get out of his grasp and fling myself out of bed and stumble to the bathroom 2 feet away. I fell asleep in there for a while, but when I went back to the room he was asleep. I talked to him about it the next day, and he said he didn't know what I was talking about. I told him it wasn't okay, and he needs to control himself, and I'm happy to have sex when I'm awake, but I don't consent when I'm asleep. Well, a few nights ago it happened again, but I was able to wake right up and push him off of me. I yelled at him, and he got mad at me again saying he doesn't know what I'm talking about. I'm honestly really concerned. Has there been times that I don't wake up? Does he really not know what he's doing? Why can't he just initiate sex when I'm awake? As of lately I've been extremely sexually frustrated, and I asked him why we can't have sex, and he just shrugged and said he is dealing with a lot from his exes, and he doesn't want to. That hurt my feelings a bit, so I stayed up late, and when I did end up falling asleep in our bed I fell into a deep sleep, and he did it again. I have a bruise on my arm from him grabbing me. I pushed him off, and he just turned over and started snoring. Is he really asleep and doesn't know he is doing this? I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I'm exhausted, this keeps happening. Edit. I just wanted to thank everyone that has reached out to give me advice and suggest things that may be red flags or an issue he could be personally having. I plan on talking to him tonight when he gets home, and we'll have a better idea of what is going on based off the reaction he gives me. I'll provide an update when that happens.